you today? So, today we're going to be talking about a few more deaf creators that I think you should follow. I think, what is today, the 25th? Let me look at the calendar. I think I got one more of these coming up for you, if I'm not mistaken, but I forgot actually what my content plan was there, so I can't remember. But the I just want to say right quick if I haven't said it before. I am in this series discussing a lot of deaf creators I think you should follow. It's by no mean an exhaustive list of deaf people to follow. There's so many more that you should go follow. Um, but I'm hoping that getting started with the people that I'm sharing this month at least can help you find one or two, if not more, people that you didn't know about, perhaps, um, or even if you already knew about all these people, maybe you found out something new about them, or a new page of theirs that you could go follow them on or something. Shit. I don't know. But yeah. So today we're gonna be talking about Kaishawna. And that's Kaishawna. And then we're going to be talking about Cheyenna, Cheyenne, as well as Scarlet. Um, and she spells her name with one T. But Scarlet May. So we're going to be talking about Kaishawna, Cheyenna Clearbrook, and Scarlet May today. And these are all deaf people who do a lot of lifestyle content as well as awareness and advocacy on accessibility. And I feel like all of us deaf people that I've been talking about, like I mentioned, do a lot of, on some level, deaf awareness, because basically every deaf person that exists, whether or not we want to, end up having to educate people about us because they don't understand us. You know what I mean? Um, so it's a thing. But what I really like about their content is I love the way they all express themselves, in my opinion, very directly, but also with very different personalities. And a lot of the creators, well, deaf blunt is a thing, and so because of that, a lot of the deaf creators we've been following are very to the point, and of course, will be very specific and direct themselves with calling things out. But a lot of the content that we've been looking at, is more like either general informative, or it could be more of just like entertainment purpose content. The content that we're going to take a look at today, I feel kind of does both, but also they each have, in my opinion, very useful ways of articulating their needs and articulating the issues, where a lot of the vocabulary that I feel, people in deaf community could be using to better advocate for themselves. I feel you could be getting that from following these three creators. Um, so yeah, and we're going to roll the intro, and then we're going to take a look at all of them and the different ways in which they share their own lived experiences. So yeah, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, my name is Lexi, aka Deaf Child. I'm born deaf, hard of hearing. My team was one of the top teams between 2020 and 2024 in New Orleans and Louisiana. I began doing business as Deaf Child in 2013, marketing 2011, and sales 2009. I've earned 50 plus certifications in marketing and sales, and I have my Bachelor of Science from Loyola University, New Orleans, with a music industry studies major and a business administration.
Visit my site at noladeafchild.com. I always hate when I accidentally hit this one button too soon. Anyway, sorry. So first, y'all, we have Kaishawna today. So Kaishawna is a Black autistic, deaf, blind, queer At the time of this video, I believe she's 22. They are 22. I just said, you know what? Me with the pronouns, very colonial, love me. They are 22 years old, AAC user who is a clarinet player, musician, music theorist, future teacher, writer, composer. And they also have Old Wisconsin Soul here. And so what I really like about, their content, well, first of all, in their highlights, they kind of do divide up what you're going to be getting from this. So they do let you know, just they will label some of the content as a rant. That's how they will be labeling it, and I go do that for myself. They will be asking for funding support needs on here, but they also discuss like music theory, autism, adaptive education, and they have a lot of general content on these things, as well as educating on privileges, Black deaf awareness, racism, being Black community. Um, you get her daily living, whiteness, I believe problem, autistic things, abuse, then as well as their services as well. And so what we're gonna do, and they have a lot like civil rights, back to school, ABA, um, all of that, Braille, low vision, neuroaffirming, autism, and ableism. I highly recommend checking out their content just so you can follow them. And also, in terms of for people thinking of like, how to support them, this is where you can find out specific ways to do so. And then for people considering ways to better think of how you can advocate for yourself in deaf community, I feel like a lot of the topics there will give you some of those tools as well. Um, and on their Who I Am highlight, it says, "Hi y'all, doing a reintroduction to myself and my need as a Black autistic, deaf-blind, AAC user and unreliable speaker. I will share my independent skills and ways I navigate through society with mobility aids and communication differences." And then it says, "While I may accept she, her pronouns occasionally, my pronouns are they, them. If you forget, it's okay. Just please remember to respect the pronouns given in my profile next to my name." So, they, them. I apologize for that. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad about that. But, center. Um, Mi español es mierda. So here it says my call to action. Um, it says I'm assumed to be 23-year-old Black, multi-disabled, non-binary person. My disabilities are low vision, autism, deafness, delayed learning. Their call to action is to gather funds for college supplies as well as other means like sensory aids and such, to gain support and solidarity from all those that can offer support, to share and discuss disability policy and disability efforts. Their goal at this time is $1,000. And you can support them in other ways, like sharing and taking screenshots of their story to share with others that may be able to help. And I will get the PayPal link. All right, I will link the PayPal link for those who want to donate funds to Kaishawna. I'm going to put the PayPal link in the description of the video. Um, when they are asking for donations, they mean from those who are able to help significantly. They said that they are working to decrease anger when making stories and posts. Honestly, I don't even think they should have to work to decrease anger, but that's just my own opinion. I can see how on some level it might be easier with certain messages sometimes to, not always have that approach, but I don't think there should be tone policing that I've seen, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. but I don't want to make anyone feel any way for how they decide to handle anything. I'm just a little overthinking. I'm sorry. Um, and so, yeah. And then they also have in here their services. I wanted to check. Oh, I just passed it up. Here it is. Okay. All right. So right now it looks like their services might not be. I don't want to speak for them. I would say get in contact with them to see if they are still offering services at this time, or just to check in, because I don't want to speak for them on whether or not they are offering services. But when you click the My Services highlight, it just says, I'm done. I'm done asking white privileged people to be heard. I'm done asking to be on podcasts, on webinars, just to be told maybe next year, maybe next time. Apparently, my fucking voice as a black multi-disabled person doesn't matter unless I'm begging to be on a white race podcast or video. I'm done waiting for my voice to be heard and seen. Well, I hope that they get on the podcasts of their choosing, and I hope that they don't have to beg to be on any table, you know? Um, so, yeah. I am currently at a point where I'm not at this time able to offer to pay people to join me on YouTube. Um, I did um offer, like if they ever wanted to do a collaboration together, I would love to, but I did say, I understand absolutely, like given that I don't have funds at this time to pay for that, if that would be exploitation of labor, if that wouldn't be the option. She would they like the oh my god, I just did it again. God damn it. I'm fucked up. Okay. They liked the comments at that time. So, maybe they will want to join me one day. I think at this time they might be busy with their uh schooling. Their most one of the most recent posts here from a week ago says the autistic group chat will be ending. Unfortunately, I can't keep up with notifications and other related things online. I'll be offline for a while, but will still be needing donations. My advisor has stated I need a high GPA for my application for student teaching, and that means taking away time from social media. I think it's really important to focus on school. I still hope everybody goes and supports, even if they are taking some time off, because when they're on, they are on, and I think that you're gonna get a lot of good information just on how to support um, not only them specifically, but also just general community when it comes to the intersectionality and the social issues that they speak on. So I'm going to take 2 shakes of a lamb's tail real quick to link up her PayPal link here. If anyone is able to donate, this is getting put in the description of this video. It would be great if you could go donate on the PayPal to Kaishawna. Thank you very much. Um, Now, moving on, we've got Cheyenna Clearbrook here. You may recognize Cheyenna from Deaf University, which is a Netflix show. I think that show has a lot of social issues in there that's very problematic, in my opinion, with not only internalized ableism, but also, in my opinion, potentially racism. Um, so it's an interesting show. I think it is an important one as it was documented because it does show the reality of deaf community, in my opinion, in terms of we do have these issues. This is what it can be like in certain spaces. And I think there's also valid critiques about some of the problematic narratives in the storyline of the show and some of the words said by people, but you should go watch that yourself and form your own conclusions. So I think it's still on Netflix. Netflix has started pulling shit. I'm hoping they don't, even if I think it's problematic, I still hope they don't pull deaf content because it's so hard to get access to that stuff. Or if that gets pulled, I hope it gets published somewhere else where it's at least, available. Um, but lately Cheyenna has gone into the family content, but a lot of her content, I am not using words correctly today. This sucks. But a lot of her content is going into more of a family, I feel, take lately. Previously, it was very centered on deaf awareness and just general deaf content. I don't know how I feel about I don't know. I have mixed feelings, obviously, about kids in content on social media. I will say it doesn't seem to be where it's like the kid seems to be the primary focus of making the content or anything. I don't know. It looks like she just posts stuff that she probably would have taken anyway. You know what I mean? But yeah. So lately we're getting a lot of the family and wedding stuff. Um, But she also posts just general blogs. When you watch her reels and stuff, she'll also teach, like, here she talks about how teaching and learning ASL are different things. I'm not clicking and watching these, but I'm pretty sure in some of her reels she talks about um, tools that she uses as a deaf mom to accommodate her and what it's like being a deaf mom, right? And a lot of her content is very focused on deaf awareness and deaf education and deaf accessibility. And so much of the work she's done in the past on educating on deaf issues, and we're going to check out this Deaf Enough video in a minute, is so important to me that it's just like, I feel like everybody should go just scroll through her profile, just check it out, get down in there. It's worth it, in my opinion. You're going to learn a lot just about how deaf people can be just like anybody else, in my opinion, but also, we do live in a different way. We experience things differently and we go about things differently. And so I feel like she's a great person to follow on those types of lived experience issues, as well as just informing you on deaf culture and deaf perspective too. Um, she's also on YouTube. Highly recommend checking her out. Apparently, I think she moved to Canada. Um, that's cool for her. So yeah, go give her a follow or subscribe if you'd like. She does do like, can Siri understand my deaf voice? Like, a lot of it, she'll integrate like, and I think it's kind of funny because it shows like, in some ways there will be critiques on this because deaf people are criticized a lot for how we speak, if we speak, or how well we speak is like a thing. And so on some levels, people may feel it could be harmful to address deaf speaking in a way. But on another level, I think it's cool to show the struggle of how, like, certain deaf people don't have the ability to use certain platforms or go in certain spaces and be able to get access because of speaking, right? Um, and even with deaf people who can speak, like me, we still don't have access in many ways because we don't know what's happening. People just are able to hear us. But it can still come into play with being able to speak for yourself in terms of autonomy. Um, so I do have, I think so people in deaf community may have mixed feelings about some of the content she can put out in that direction, but I like it because I think it shows her journey with her own life, and I don't think she did it in a harmful way, even if others disagree with me on that, right? But yeah, that's just me. But I can see why any deaf person gets triggered by the concept, no matter how it's done, you know? So yeah. fucking, she has this I am deaf enough video that I want to check this out real quick. So it's got people signing I am deaf enough and an ASL font and finger spelling. It's like the Gallaudet deaf font finger spelling says I am deaf enough overlaid. Um, and then she says, "Hi guys, this video will be very special. We have a message for you. I am deaf enough." And it's got people signing I am deaf enough over and over again in ASL. Um, and I think it's, when you reflect, that says that means you are too. Don't let anyone else tell you that you're not deaf enough. Each of us do have a variety of deaf identity. Remember that. It shouldn't be matter where you came from. Some of you might have come from goes to mainstream school, or you might went to deaf school, or even goes to homeschool. Some of you might be fluent in signing, some of you might not be fluent in signing. It does not matter. You are still deaf enough. I was born deaf and raised in deaf community. Living in the deaf world, I learned it is okay to be different. Show who we are. Each of us is beautiful inside and outside. In our deaf community, we have a variety of kinds of deaf of people. Some of us can hear the music, some of us are completely deaf, some of us are engaged in ASL strongly, some of us just learned how to sign. Some of us have deaf families, some of us have hearing families, some of us went to deaf schools, some of us went to mainstream schools. That shows our various backgrounds. What does our deaf community bring the beautiful out of? We have our language, we have culture, we have a various deaf people. That includes you too. You might think, sign language is an eyesore? No, it is a beautiful visual sign language. We are so thankful for our wonderful language, our beautiful deaf world, and for who we are. I'm very proud to be deaf. I want to let you know that being deaf is perfectly fine. In the hearing world, they might get ahead of us, and you might think us deaf people are behind. We are same as them, except for the ability of hearing. That is all. We can accomplish what hearing people does. Did you know, being a deaf person, it gives me this accessible to beautiful culture community where I feel so blessed to have so many beautiful connections. That kind of connection we have is shaped me into who I am today. I grew up in mainstream school and being taught how to speak. Later I realized I learned how to sign. I wanted to sign, and it empowered me. Now I have a strong deaf identity. There was a time when a deaf person approached me and asked me why I wear cochlear implants. Being deaf is enough. You shouldn't be wearing a CI. I told them CI is just a tool. I am still proud that I am deaf and that I still wear cochlear implants. As I reflected, the big D and D should be thrown out. We are still deaf enough. Why do I believe I am deaf enough? Because all my struggles have shaped me into the person I've become today. If you are still struggling, that is okay. Do you know why? Because no one who is deaf and experiencing the exact story. No, their journeys are different, and your journey is different, and that is okay. You are through hard times and it'll become better. Eventually, things will become okay. Nobody is at rock bottom every day. You are deaf enough. Deaf people can do anything. For example, there are deaf teachers, doctors, actors, and many more. Even I am a deaf YouTuber that shows being deaf doesn't stop you from following your dream. I have met many deaf people from all over the world. They have accepted me who I am as a deaf individual. They have accepted me experiencing their cultures, their deaf cultures. They didn't care if I was a first generation of being deaf. You and I are deaf enough. I want to share my past is not defined to my deaf identity. When I grew up, it taught me today my past background does not define who I am. It's important that I now have my values for my culture being connected to my deaf community. You're deaf enough too. Don't let others tell you you're not deaf enough. You are deaf enough regardless of your background. Why am I proud of my deaf identity? Being deaf, it means you can still do anything. It's only except for the very part that puts a barrier in all of us, which is an ability of hearing. That is okay. I'm from a hearing family. I'm the only deaf in my family. I have a cochlear implant. I speak well. People often think I am hearing. I am still deaf enough. My deafness is a part of me. I am always and forever deaf. We deaf people do have this accessibility, a language, a culture, a community, friendships. All of us are deaf enough, including you two. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. You are not alone and we are in this together. This is a beautiful community including many different kind of sign languages. We are here for you. You are deaf enough. Don't let anybody else tell you you're not or define your deaf identity. You're the only one to define your deaf identity. If you're using your voice or signing, it does not matter because you are still deaf enough. You are deaf enough. It is time for us to stop using that label, you are not deaf enough. We need to unity together as deaf community. Thank you for watching this video. For this special message from us, for deaf people who participated in this video, I want to say thank you to them for sharing their messages to you. The purpose for this video was that I felt it is needed to be heard and shared towards the out there in our world, our society, and how do others perceive us, our deaf community, not just coming from the hearing world, but also deaf world, who are also perceived on us. Why did I say I'm deaf enough? I have seen some of deaf people are still struggling with identifying themselves as a deaf person. The very reasons could be from deaf world strongly, or whom they are criticized, saying they are not deaf enough in their eyes. Do you know that? They are wrong. The others who have been criticized, they are still deaf enough, including you too, me too, others too. We are still deaf enough regardless of our backgrounds. It is time to throw away the word, you are not deaf enough. At the end of the day, we are still us. We are still deaf. It shouldn't be matter if you came from hearing world or you might have just discovered the deaf world. It is fine. It is okay. Even if you just learned how to sign. And finally, identifying yourself as deaf is okay, it's beautiful. In the very end of the day, you are still deaf enough. And the reason that I wanted to show this video, it is because of the sign language. It is people are signing at different speeds, and then the sign language itself being in a different word order, and then the captions, they glossed a lot of the signs where it was not necessarily in English, so reading it was a bit difficult. But the reason I felt it was important to show that video, even if it, in my opinion, could be very whitewashed, I don't want to say, like I say could be, because I do know a few of the ethnicities of some of the people in there who are Asian and Latina, so I don't want to be like but there are people, but in my opinion, I feel like there is, some issues there for sure. But with the message that comes out of it, I think any deaf person in their deaf journey who has been faced with these concepts that they might not be deaf enough, it's an important message for us all to see. The comments are a mixed variety of comments. I'm not going to take the time to go through them because I don't want to get off track from the deaf creator spotlight into reacting to the concept of who is deaf enough. But what I will say in the comments, I see a lot of deaf people, those without a strong sense of deaf identity or deaf connection or deaf community are more of the ones who, in my opinion, are could be perceived as perpetuating internalized ableism. But yeah, it is very common for even deaf people to try to be telling each other they're not deaf enough and shit. And I think in some cases, like with Jello program reporting, there could be reason to question if someone is deaf based on things they say and how they treat deaf people. But I think when someone is just on the premise of someone saying I'm deaf or I'm hard of hearing, and then the whole concept of, oh, you're not deaf enough, that's a no-go for me. And overall, I don't believe in just like negating people's deafness. I think sometimes, you know, like for example, when 3 or 4 months ago someone identified as hearing and then 3 months later they identify as deaf, that could be reason to question, well, are you deaf or are you hearing then? Right? You know? So sometimes there will be like people who, you know, there will be reason to question if you're actually deaf, right? But based on something they said or did. But if you don't have cause or reason to believe or question, negating someone's deaf identity is bullshit typically, in my opinion. Um and so this video, I felt in my heart, it spoke to me so much when I first saw it, that like I just felt like I had to do this like reading of it as well. And I love that it's in sign language. I also just feel for those of us who are all deaf, who, whether it's through a tool or through being hard of hearing identity, for those of us raised oralized, I think it's also important to speak these messages too, because most deaf people, we're not raised signing, and a lot of deaf people don't learn sign language, and those who do learn sign language learn later in life. And so the reason I felt it's important for me to fucking say this shit is because just because I'm saying it to you doesn't make me any less deaf or you any less deaf, you know? And so that's where I'm gonna wrap up the Cheyenna portion here. And I want to go into showing you guys Scarlet May. If you haven't followed Scarlet May before, she's great. She is a model and she's also a deaf advocate. Um, and so like here, let's check out there. This looks like a Deaf Awareness Month post. So let's check this out. She's also someone who will speak and sign, and she does a lot of content on educating around deaf culture, but she will also include aspects relating to informing people that just because she speaks doesn't make her any less deaf, right? And so that is something that I really appreciate. And I love to see her have this sense of empowerment in herself and her identity at such a young age. Because when I was her age, I wasn't mentally where she is yet. And so to see someone be further than me than I was then, I love it. I fucking love it. You know what I mean?
Awareness Month, I'm gonna talk my shit and tell y'all my biggest pet peeves as a deaf person. Number one, when somebody comes up to me in public and they start speaking, I tell them, oh, I'm deaf, and they start raising their voice and getting louder. I'm actually concerned for these individuals because I know you did not just take I'm deaf as in I can't hear you and you thought to yourself the solution was to get louder and raise your voice. Number two, whenever I tell
Then no, that one really gets me too, because like, so for some of us, you know, like on in a certain situation, depending on your deafness, is whether or not being loud is going to help. You really got to get to know someone or ask someone what their access needs are. So for some of us, depending on where our deafness is and depending on what your voice is, because every human has different voice. So for me, I'm sensora neural deaf. I can't hear high frequencies. If you got a lower voice, I'm gonna hear you better than if you got a higher voice. It's just a fact, right? And so for you have too high of a voice, it won't really, you have to really be fucking yelling inappropriately for me for that to matter. Um uh can I I'm sorry, hold on. Shit. I'm gonna do a break. I really don't want to fucking do a break right now, but I'm gonna do a fucking break. I will be right back. Alright, sorry, my fucking thing's being weird. I think, I can't tell if this thing is working. I think it's working. But alright, I am back. Fucking, I don't remember what the fuck I was saying now. And that really sucks for me. So I guess we're just gonna keep playing this thing because I don't know what I don't remember what I was saying now. Alrighty.
Somebody I'm deaf and they start asking me questions like, oh, like when did you become deaf? Were you born deaf? What happened? Da 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 da. Why are we still speaking? Why are we talking? Why are we using our voice? I just told you I cannot hear you. Number 3. This one hits a nerve like no other.
Okay, yes. I was talking about, I don't remember where I was, but I was trying to explain what it's like to be deaf. And whether or not, why in some situations when you raise your voice it will help and sometimes it won't. It depends on what the deaf person is trying to hear. If they're trying to hear something, what type of deafness the deaf person has, as well as environmental factors impacting their ability as well, to take in certain information. But yeah, but it still won't, like, no matter how loud someone is, at a certain point, at certain frequencies, it doesn't matter how loud someone is. Um, I'm still not going to get that information because I'm just totally deaf there. You know what I'm saying? So for me, my deafness is at a curve, and so it just depends on where you're at on the curve. But for everybody, it's different.
Other. And I told somebody I'm deaf and they asked me, can I read lips? Let's think about it for a minute. Imagine I come up to you and I'm doing sign language and you like, oh, I don't know sign language, and I ask you, can you read lips? And half the people that be asking me that question don't even got no damn lips for me to read. So no. Number 4. For this point, if you have said this to me or other deaf people, I'm gonna ask you to please consider going back to school. If I'm signing and talking at the same time like I'm doing right now and you tell me, I don't know why you sign, you speak so well, you don't need to do sign language. Oh baby, I don't know why in the hell you thought I was signing for you. I don't know if you thought English was the only language in this world, but I do want you to know it's okay to go back to school. People go to school and they don't learn nothing the first time around and they have to go again. Hell, you can even go 3 or 4 times if you really need it to really comprehend what you just asked me. And I know if it being Deaf Awareness Month, I'm gonna talk my shit and tell y'all my biggest pet peeves as a deaf person. Number 1, when somebody comes up to me in public and they start speaking, I tell them, oh, I'm deaf, and they start raising their voice and getting louder. I'm actually concerned for these individuals because I know you did not just take I'm deaf as in I can't hear you and you thought to yourself the solution was to get louder and raise your voice. Number 2, whenever I tell somebody I'm deaf and they start asking me questions like, oh, like when did you become deaf? Were you born deaf? What happened? Da 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 da. Why are we still speaking? Why are we talking? Why are we using our voice? I just told you I cannot hear you.
Bruh, I just like kind of spaced out for a second and then I realized this thing was repeating. I feel like I just got like really thrown off. But anyway, this is like a great example of her type of video. She's funny, she's informative, she's really beautiful. I think you should follow her. Go follow Scarlet May. I feel like I'm doing a really bad job of introducing Scarlet. Sorry, Scarlet, your hair looks really good today. Um, but yes, fucking she will do a lot of ASL lyric videos. She does a lot of deaf education, deaf awareness. And so for anyone who just wants to be entertained in sign language, look at a very gorgeous, beautiful person, as well as uh, learn more about deaf issues, I highly recommend following her. And she's on TikTok too. And in TikTok, you can check her stuff out by playlist as well. And you'll get more of that video experience here. And she's got a whole deaf education playlist up in here too, like over 100 videos. Um, and so I highly recommend checking her shit out. So here's just like, let's see, I don't even know. Here's another one.
How can I help you? Do you know where the bathroom is around here? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you speak up just a little bit? I'm deaf. Oh my god, I am so sorry. Oh no, you're good, really. But what did you need? Okay. Do you know?
In my opinion, in this situation, Scarlett probably wanted what that she's like doing a skit about. She's probably referring to as times where she wants people to enunciate and to not mumble and to speak clearly because people will be mumbling and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what the fuck you just said to me. Um, but then they'll do this instead of just like talking clearly and normally like you would if you were a guest speaker, perhaps.